interviewing Judy Carney on June 30th, 2009. Okay, so we can get started. What are your first or best childhood memories of libraries?
I don't really remember the library. I lived in a community that, I lived in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we lived in a small area. I kind of recall carrying a bag of books and going to the library, but I don't.
Yeah.
I remember a certain coziness feeling, but that's kind of it. And I remember teachers who were very loving when they read stories. And that was what was really important.
Yeah.
At least for me. I don't.
Yeah.
It's
Most people. It's funny. Most people don't remember.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to think about it the other day because I saw this and what was that? But there had to have been some sort of, at least going to the library. I do remember having a library card.
You do?
And that was the important thing.
Oh, okay.
It's like something special to have. Even though who knew what it was.
Yeah. How important was reading to you growing up?
I had a few books that I liked to read. What I really remember about, it's not even books, it's really stories. But I had an uncle who would recite Edgar Allan Poe or Shakespeare. And so dinners at their home, and we went to their home quite frequently, he would just, at the middle of some conversation, he would blurt out with, and he was a shy man, but it would allow him to burst out with some Edgar Allan Poe poetry or some piece of Shakespeare. And then, of course, as we got older, he was still going on some of the same pieces, of course, but we were all learning them and hearing. So it was like, I was fascinated by the literature piece of it. And in fact, my cousin, his daughter, is an English teacher and an art teacher in New Hampshire. So she kind of took up the literature piece. I took up this sort of interest in the oral part of it, the communication piece, I guess. It was fun.
Can you imagine memorizing?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I was trying to think on my way over here if I could even recite it myself. I doubt it. I just really can't even. I'd have to sit and look at it again to remember it.
Yeah.
But I can see him now always, and he was a very quiet man. He never said anything,
Isn't
except
that
he would burst
funny?
out with these pieces, and he told stories. I mean, he would tell a Russian tale, and after dinner he'd be lying on the floor, sort of, and all of us would be sort of around him, and he would tell the same story over and over again about the grandma who, and the wolf that comes and eats all the children, and they're inside the wolf, and the grandma comes and takes the knife and cuts them, and out come out all these children, hither, thither, and yon, and everywhere, and on the this, and on under the table, and on the table, and on the chair, and under the chair, and he'd go all through that. We'd just be squealing and loving it, and every time, though, even as we got older and older, it was like, no, he had to. We couldn't come there now for dinner unless he told. Even if we were teenagers, we needed to hear that story.
How cute.
So, anyway, and I don't have that. My kids actually don't have that piece, but that's a fond memory. And it was I think that's my interest in sort of literature and reading and knowing more.
Yeah.
It was
How interesting. That's
fun.
Interesting. Where did you grow up? You said Indianapolis?
Indianapolis. Rocky Ripple, and then out to the north. Then we moved out to the further out north, basically to north central area. It's sort of farm, closer to cornfields, and across the street was an apple orchard, and climbing the apple trees, that kind of stuff.
That's neat. So. That's neat. What awareness of community did you have while growing up? I don't understand exactly what that question means, except that did you have like a downtown that you knew people or?
Well, I didn't have it in the same way that my kids have experienced Lafayette. In fact, I think in a lot of ways, I brought, that was important to me. I did have neighborhoods though, and we did, and you know, being in the Midwest, there was a certain sameness to everything, but also I think just being involved in things, which my parents were divorced and I lived with my father, and so he was not involved in anything.
No, he's probably working.
All the time.
Yeah.
And my aunt and uncle who lived within a mile and who we did spend quite a bit of time with, my aunt was very involved in some community things. And then she also got involved with the symphony and stuff like that. So I think I knew about volunteering and being active, and because I didn't have that at my house, it's like I always was envious of it, that she had it.
Right.
And while I was semi-aware of it, I was never part of it, if that makes sense.
Oh, no,
and
I
so
understand.
I was left out. And
Yeah.
so I was determined with my own kids that I would be involved, and they would know what it meant to be involved.
That's
And
good.
Part of something, I'm not so sure they thought that was such a great idea at the time, but now they do. Now that they're grown and on their own, they even remark about the fact that they had no idea what it all meant until they're now doing their own interests. I mean, my son is involved in energy projects, and my daughter's involved in learning about law, but also just sort of the civil rights pieces.
Wow.
Of things. So I mean, I think that did play out, and I think it was just because I longed for that kind of thing. That it's like I was driven when I got to Lafayette, and I found I could like
join things.
And people actually wanted you to do them,
Yeah.
and they believed that you could. And wow, I found out I could. So it was just one thing.
And then there you were.
Right. Ooh, and
What's on tonight?
That's right. Really driven by it. I mean, it was very exciting. I mean, I've really loved my time here in Lafayette. It's been the best.
Yeah.
It's really been the best part of my life.
I understand. I agree. Education.
Well, I went to Indiana University, and I have my bachelor's of science from there. I'm an occupational therapist, and I actually didn't get my master's until a few years ago here at Cal State Hayward in public administration, because I was fascinated. I am still fascinated by public policy and the impacts that one entity can do to another.
Well, and you were so involved in so
right.
many different things.
And I loved all of that. I loved being on the school board. I thought it was just such a wonderful experience. And
I think it's
just have
underappreciated.
It really
by the general public.
Yeah, I think people don't know what it really is about. And it's, right now it's in a tragic situation, and but I think, I guess I just admired the people I've always worked with, and the people that have been involved, and the teachers, and I just think it's part of what builds the foundation of what we all do. Really.
Yeah.
And I feel so strongly about, democracy itself wouldn't exist if we didn't have public education.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that's the first thing you have to do to build democracy. So it's,
I never thought about that. I kept thinking about, freedom of speech, that kind of, and voting, but I never.
if you think about it, any country that, educates its public, does trust and allow the public to be able to, grow on itself, to build not just that it's a democracy, but it allows people the opportunity to participate.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more people take advantage of that, and I think that's part of what goes on now, is people don't take advantage of the opportunity to be participants. But
That's so true.
But if they didn't have any knowledge,
Yeah.
they wouldn't even know what they were what was important to think about.
No,
So.
you can, okay, we could get into a big
Yes, we
discussion on
could.
this one. Work experiences, you're working now.
Yes, I have done a lot of, I trained, my background licenses as an occupational therapist, and I've done, along with my other stuff, I was always kind of keeping that going, but sort of in the background, I guess. But, so I've done everything with that. I've worked with children in all different, school-based OT, but I've also done, I built a program at Children's Hospital for 0 to 13 for what at that time called crack babies, but it was a developmental nursery, and I had a grant from Junior League here in the East Bay to create a kind of a volunteer program for people to come in to help support these babies and their mothers, and the concept of the whole program was to keep mothers with their babies.
Wow.
And so by educating, and my role was really with the babies and their siblings and helping them to, developmentally grow appropriately. And the one thing I did learn in that was just they really were not as bad of shape as the public always thought of them.
Good.
But that they really, it was more that they had no real boundaries because their mothers had no boundaries, and so as their mothers learned. So anyway, I still am on the advisory board, and I love that program. But I
It's
also
still
have
going.
done,
The program is
yeah.
still going.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
But I've also done, I worked with autistic kids. I've worked with, just a whole range of CP kids. But now I have my own rehab company, and I have OT-PT speech therapists working with seniors in skilled nursing facilities. So now I have a couple of contracts with a couple of Walnut Creek and in Oakland and also in Alameda. And so I see, elderly. And so I'm also now on the senior commission, which is really a very interesting project for me. Just because time-wise, it's so different than being on the school board. But it's interesting. And I feel like I know a lot about that, and I can bring my occupational therapy things, preventing falls and, balance. And I know a lot about movement disorders and neurological. I've always been fascinated by the neurological, the inner workings of that. It's fascinating. I just happen to be in the right place at the right time, I think, because now it's like blossoming.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I can't keep up.
Our
really.
baby boomers are moving up, and
it's very exciting. It's really because really people don't. First of all, they don't want to be called seniors, and they would rather be just people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And they want to and I can relate to that. And they really want to stay in their homes, and they want to be able to. Maybe not have to do as much as they did, but they want to do other things. It's actually an opportunity to be more active, and be involved in things. And so I think it's very healthy.
Notice, like my brother's the baby boomer. He's younger than I, and he's a baby boomer era. And that they're the ones who are taking care of their parents who are now facing difficulties.
Right. And those are I do a lot of family work. I do a lot of home visits, actually, and helping people figure out that maybe mom isn't able to do what she used to do,
Yes,
kind of stuff.
that is really, and you need to have somebody
change.
like that.
Yeah, you need an outside
person who can look at it without any kind of prejudice at all.
So,
Wow.
anyway.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay, what attracted you? Okay, as an adult, what were your early community experiences?
I think we've sort of talked about that.
You were on the school board.
Yes,
You were on the Burton Valley.
PTA president at Burton Valley. I ran the first parcel tax. which at the time there were only 13 on the ballot in the state of California. I believe we were the only one that won that year. And they were relatively new. There had been a couple of them maybe the year or so before, but this was the first, at least that's what it was sort of, I was guided to believe. But I'm pretty sure that's true. And then, of course, they've been, continue now, and they're multiple generations later now.
Oh, yeah.
It's a major, major undertaking. I don't think, unless you've been involved in it, it's really hard to know just how much detail there is.
I can't imagine
But it was so exciting to be in a community that really did care.
And supported, yeah.
It's so supportive and
yeah.
so, obviously there are people that will always say no, and then there will always be people that just, don't go out to vote, all that.
Yeah.
But it is a community that cares about what happens in their schools and cares about the strength of the community itself. And I guess it ties in with my belief that school education is like at the basis of democracy. So anyway, but I've done quite a number of things actually.
You have.
I can't even think of them at the moment, but
A lot.
I have. A lot. One thing led to the next.
What attracted you to Lafayette?
I would say, well, actually, when I lived in Los Angeles, I moved from Indiana to Los Angeles, and I met my husband and had my kids. And a couple of years before we had kids, I was starting to pay attention to what was going on in schools and education, and had a few friends that already had kids, and they were talking about it, so I was paying attention. And Prop 13 came along, and I was really quite focused because I kept reading about this is just a disaster, and in 30 years it's just going to be really a disaster, and all the detail of all of that, and I was just like, well, that can't happen. How could that be? And then of course it passed. And then I had kids, and then I got like deeply involved in going to things and paying attention to them. And quite honestly, I was driven. My husband sometimes will say, there was like this hormone, this education hormone that just happened when I, was carrying my kids, because it was like it was like a dog with a bone. I wasn't going to let go. So I came to Lafayette and I researched when we had the opportunity to move here. I did research, which community, and of course Lafayette came out pretty strong. I remember calling the district office a few times and asking questions.
Good.
I looked at, we came up and looked at houses, and I came over to Burton Valley and talked to different people there. I can't remember exactly who at the moment, but
Was it Burton Valley at the time, or was it still
was
Marywood?
Burton.
Okay.
Yeah. It was Burton. But I liked their feeling, and I liked, in Burton Valley in particular, because I felt like my kids would be able to ride bikes, where in Hollywood, it was too dangerous. So I was very excited. I didn't want to, and I loved the feeling. And also, coming from Hollywood, I didn't, and coming to Burton, I really wanted the bigger school, because I didn't want them to be at a school where they would get like stuck in one class, and how you can't intermix among the kids and stuff. So anyway, I thought, for me anyway, that made the most sense. So it was very exciting when we found a place. And then I got here, and of course and this is really true, the very first thing I did, I think we arrived on we arrived on the Mayflower, one of those Mayflower driving things, and we arrived on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh gosh.
And it was pouring rain, and they were bringing things in the house, and I think it was like the following week was a school board meeting, and I went down to it. I just couldn't wait, because I had been going to the school board meetings in Los Angeles, and I was so appalled at these board members yelling at each other and so hostile and so much dissension
Wow.
and just, oh my goodness, I was working my way up there.
Mhm,
I mean,
mhm.
if I had stayed there, I know I would have probably won because I was just mounting in fury. And so, because they were never talking about the kids. There
Mhm.
was never, so I came here and I was stunned. First of all, there weren't that many people sitting in the audience, but I was stunned by just the dialogue. And I think Mary McCosker was on the board at that time.
Oh, fun.
So I was really fascinated, and then I did go to numbers of them, and then I ran into Joanne Shokan.
Mhm.
Our sons were both on some baseball team together, and she asked if I would be interested in considering working on the parcel tax, and then next thing I knew, I was chairing it.
Next thing
You
you
knew
knew, you
there
were
I
on
was.
the board of it.
So that one thing and the next, but it was the opportunity to just be involved,
Yeah.
and it was. I
When
don't
do
know.
you think it was? 1975, 70?
No, it was later than that. We moved here in like 88.
Okay,
You can
okay.
believe that. So
Yeah.
it was 88 or 89.
Yeah.
At the end of the 80s.
Okay, okay. So the school was established. Ben was the
Yes.
principal.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Because we were here, when we moved here, it was Stanley, it was, I can't remember the name of the junior high school right now. It was Marywood
Right.
Elementary, and then there was the high school, or the junior high, right, connected with it.
Right. Right.
And that was a long time ago. We were just talking
Yeah, you've been here a while.
30, what did we say? 37 years? Something like that.
Wow.
Same house.
Awesome.
Uh-huh. We replaced everything. What are your, do you have any early memories of the Lafayette Library, where it is now?
I remember going to the library and wanting my kid, getting cards for the kids
Mm-hmm.
and taking them to finance. But I must say, I thought it was rather small at the time.
It is, yeah.
And it was like, it was hard to find the things I was looking for. I was often I went for, looking for things for traveling, for example. And they were there, but they weren't necessarily, they were more outdated, I think, or they didn't have the one I was looking for, that kind of
Right.
thing, or the book that I was looking for. I do hang out a lot in independent bookstores.
Mm-hmm. Do you personally use the library now, the Lafayette Library now?
Not really, not
Okay.
very much.
Okay.
That's why I'm excited that we're building one that just feels like it'll be cozy and
gonna be
lovely
fantastic.
It looks wonderful.
Yeah.
Just wonderful.
Okay, how do you feel a library serves a community?
Oh, it's like, well, it can be a lot of things. It is definitely a place where people can go and, quite honestly, go and relax. Usually if you go to a community center, you're going there because you're doing something. And,
Yes.
you sign up for a class or whatever. But for a library, it's an opportunity to kind of, I feel like you're often walking back into some sort of time box where you're it's this story thing. It's like I'm always waiting for my uncle to come up with the next story, right? So it just feels like it's should be a building full of stories of
Yeah.
all kinds.
Yeah.
I am taking a writing class. I've been doing some writing myself since I went off the board. It's like I never had time to just
Right.
do some of my own things. So now I'm like immersed in writing. And
Wow.
so I joined I've been on an online writing group, and then we've now started meeting. So we meet, and then we also do this online. And then I signed up for a class that just started like last week, which I'm very excited about. It's also an online class from Stanford, and it's full of, just things to read. I mean, it's like, how to develop the characters and how to develop the scenery, and then there's a dialogue that goes on between these students. But what's great is because it is online, some of the people are on the other side of the world.
Oh my gosh.
We never meet. We just
Yeah.
meet online. So I'm kind of excited about it. And I'm, it's like I can't pull myself away from reading the stories, because he gives us stories to read too. So you read the stories, and now I have
that
to write
people, students, or people in this class have written stories like
well,
that?
well, we do that too.
Yeah.
In fact, we're about to, I'm on the first set of workshop, whatever that means, where you have to write a 3,000 to 5,000 word story, and then everybody else in the class will critique it.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I have to get going on it, because mine is due in about 3 weeks or something. So I'm all excited, but I can't figure out, well, what am I going to write about? And I have this other thing that I've been going to, the round robin. That's like, what she does is she partners us with somebody else online, and then gives everybody the same prompts. And so every day you have to set a timer and write for 10 minutes on those prompts. And then you send it to your partner, and your partner sends theirs to you, and then you critique in a positive way. The whole idea is to tell the person something good about what they're writing, so that you're encouraging. And I'm just finding it really a lot of fun. And then I went to a little workshop down at the Lafayette bookstore, had a writing class. So anyway, it's neat, and I'm amazed how many people, it's a whole other world to me.
Oh, it would be.
All these other people out there writing. I mean, there are people that write just memoirs, that kind of thing. But I'm talking about just fiction. And I'm finding there are all these, you can join these contests, and there are all these magazines that are wonderful for writing. And anyway, so I'm excited. I'm hoping that I'll have a chance in the library. Maybe there'll be something pops up out of that.
Oh, I'll bet there will be.
Because I'm sure there are other people that are like me.
Yeah, that would be a wonderful place to meet. Okay. What other, we've talked about this. What other community events, projects, organizations have you been involved with?
Well, I chaired the Lafayette Reservoir Run I think it's somewhere between around 12 years. I think that's what we
I didn't know that. I didn't know you
I
did
was the
that.
chair. It's the last Sunday of October, and happens that my birthday is usually right around there. And so it's like this, to me, it's like this big party that, of course, nobody really knows it's my birthday, except the chamber, I guess.
Yeah.
But, it's also a fantastic community building experience, and what I especially love is it's multi-generational. It's little kids and their parents and grandparents and people that are not grandparents, and just people come because they want to either walk or run, and it does take a year to organize it and plan it and put it all together. Yeah. And then in just a couple hours, you just take off and there they go.
Yeah.
And there's now it's built up to 2,000 people.
Oh my gosh.
So it was, at one time it was 500 people. But I think I started in, after Sue Cross decided she wasn't going to do it anymore. And that was around 1,000. And I built it to, I think I was close to 1,700 or something. But now it's up to 2,000. So it's just very exciting. It's always a beautiful day.
Oh, how nice.
So, and I've liked doing a lot of things with the chamber, because I realize that the businesses in town are so important to what happens in the community, and there is a mutual kind of working together feeling, and that isn't true in every community. In fact, I think it's pretty rare, to tell you the truth, that it works as well as it does, that the city works with the chamber, that the chamber works with the schools, that the schools work with the city, so on. It's just a wonderful place to live in.
Yeah.
You just don't realize till you go someplace else.
No.
I go over to Alameda or to Walnut Creek, and they're lovely communities, don't get me wrong, but I just don't have that same
feeling. Yeah.
I can walk into the grocery store, and I don't always see somebody I know. I used to always see people I know, but now as I've
now
gotten
the kids have
further
gotten
along, I
yeah.
don't. But people are willing to talk to you. You just chat. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. You don't remember anything about the 1940 library.
No.
We've talked about the 1962 library. And that was just about the, book delivery program, that kind of thing. Okay. Book sales, burning the mortgage. Okay, 2008 library. Did you know anyone involved in the 1996 study about building a new library?
1996?
Yes, it's been going on that long.
I have the documents at home.
You
Yeah.
do?
Oh yeah, I was on the Lafayette board at that time, it seems to me, and I was very much a part of, I have the vision, I'm looking at this,
Okay.
the vision task force, and I'm trying to think of my recall of how it all sort of, I just remember going to a few meetings and people talking about there's a need, and there had been many meetings, it seems to me, before that where it just came up, like,
Yeah.
what are we ever going to do? We
To
need
the
to do
library,
something,
yeah.
and so on. But then finally there was, and I think it was Ann Groden that
Yeah.
really put together the group, and I was invited to it, I think because I was on the Lafayette School Board. I might have been president at the time. And it was pretty clear that there was not going to be a turning back. We were definitely going to do it. And so, yeah, the study had to be done, and there was a lot of conversation about where it could be put, and what would be the most useful place for it to be, and then how to get the land. And I also worked, for the County Board of Supervisors at some point in that timing. So I was like aware of it from that angle, because the county was involved, and Gail Okama was involved, and just working with Don Tatson and the city, trying to support what the city wanted. And so I was sort of had knowledge of it from that angle too, I think. But it was just a regular meeting where it was definitely being driven that it was happening. I mean, people picked up little parts and
Thank
pieces.
goodness. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
They just got together and mutually supported each other for this.
Well, what would be the thing? And then there was the conversation about, well, what would be the draw? And then there was that whole thing, of course, I don't remember the timing of when the grant, the state grant.
Oh, because of the consortium.
But by then it was already in play that somehow there was going to be a library built. But I have that. In fact, I ran across it the other day, that Vision Task Force. It's like I have so much stuff.
Yeah.
That when you start going, and I'm like looking for places to put my books for my writing classes now, and I'm pulling out other books and going, whoa, it's like. But anyway, I ran across that Vision Task Force thing, and there was a lot of conversation about where it would be. How to get people involved, who would be helpful to make it, more involved. And I remember, Roger actually Falcone's comments about making it a combining sort of resources type thing to make it a bit different than what other libraries were.
Well, that's how they got the money.
Right, and that was like the
smart
crossroads to making it all happen. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it just took
because
off.
Walnut Creek.
Yeah.
We went by it's going up. It's going to be huge.
Yes, it is.
But the idea that we have this consortium.
Yes, that's the most exciting thing.
That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to that. But I remember sitting and people talking about, well, who would be part, and coming up with the different names. And, it was like a brainstorming. And I remember meetings at the different offices. There was one office downtown that I think is now Pizza Antigua or something. There was like a place where I can't remember why we were there, but maybe somebody let us use the office. Or maybe it was one of the banks down there. It was something. There was a room Yeah,
Could
there
be.
was a room in one of the banks
Could
that
be.
was sort of along there. Anyway, it was very, very, I can't remember all the people. I'm sure I have all my notes though.
Yeah, yeah.
Who was there
Who
and
was
what
there?
they,
Yeah.
what they,
Wow.
what they wanted.
Wow.
In fact, I often thought I really didn't, all these other people seemed so much more qualified. But I was so excited to be part of
Oh, yes.
that
Oh, yeah.
discussion and and really it came down to just how to get, you really have to get the entire community involved, and there was no one hesitated. I mean, no one thought that couldn't happen, because it's just that kind of community
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that is inspired to do things and make things better.
And there are some people, though, that lead the charge,
Yes, right.
and you need to have them in our experience.
Right.
You need to have them. Let's see. What do you think created the change from a limited number of people? Oh, okay, here we go. You talked about the Vision Task Force, and about it evolving into a real plan. And what do you think created the change from a limited number of people named as contributors to the larger group that came forward? And we addressed that a little bit, because you were talking about the community of the community of Lafayette.
Right. Well, and I think in a way, there are certain people in this community that really, are really strong leaders, and there are also, I think the energy from the schools, though, because we're so equipped at organizing.
Yes, that's
And
true.
that, I think the combination of the leadership and that coordination concept is just, it's like fireworks. It's like, it really could spark,
Yeah.
something really happening. There was such an energy to make something happen. And then it's like, well, what you learn from working on campaigns, quite
Right.
honestly, is not one person can't do that alone.
No.
You just, the more you just have to build on, and keep taking it back out to the the greater group,
Right, right.
and that something will come out of it. So anyway.
Okay, the present new library involvement. Okay, why is the new library important to you? We discussed that a little bit earlier. You're looking forward to
Oh yeah.
going there. Why did you want to participate in its development?
I think because it was new, important.
Yeah.
It was a concept in the beginning, but it was never thought of as just that.
Right. Right.
It's so much more. It's something for the future.
Mhm.
Something, that this time can give to the future. Very exciting.
Okay, and how did you first? Okay, we talked about this. How you got involved, and how you participated, and you talked about enjoying talking about the people involved in that, enjoying the most and participating. You talked about
Yeah,
the
and
people.
just really the dialogue of that it was going to happen. It was never, I would leave the meetings realizing, there was no one there saying, well, we shouldn't this. There was no negative stuff. It was very a wonderful challenge to take on. I think for me, the hardest part was that I was involved in other things, so I couldn't give to it in the same way that I had known myself to be able to do.
Right.
I just had to just understand that other people were going to do take on more leadership.
That would probably be obstacles for you.
Yes.
Yeah. And then who have you observed making a real impact? Particular personalities that stood out, and we talked about Ann Groden
yeah, there's
and
no question
Roger
that Ann
Falcone.
Groden, right.
Yeah.
And of course, well, all of the foundation people.
Mhm.
I was in charge of like grants, the first grants. And so, and I enjoyed doing that, but again, I was finding myself at that point in time getting so fragmented and my work stuff was starting to build.
Oh,
And so
boy,
it's
yeah.
just I couldn't focus enough.
Right.
So I did hand it over, but I did it for several years, and I did enjoy doing the grants because that's where you got a chance to kind of get to know what else was going on in
Wow.
Lafayette.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things and a lot of needs, and they're not all about the library, quite honestly, which is what also makes the foundation an important structure for us.
Amazing. Okay. It says what transformation, let's see. What values did this contribution touch you? What is that? What values did this contribution touch that you hold dear? And I think you talked about that a little bit at the beginning of our
Yeah.
conversation
Yeah.
about,
Well, it's
Yeah.
the beauty of community and well, we're all here for a certain time period when you get right down to it,
Yes.
quite honestly.
yes.
And the idea that you're contributing to something that will go on for other generations. I often think of my own kids that will, they'll have kids, and there
Oh,
will be
yes.
a day where, of course, I'm not there, but
Yeah.
they will be able to say, well, my mom did this.
Oh, yeah,
or
but
your
they'll also-
grandmother," or
Yeah.
they'll see the building and they'll remember all those little books and meetings, and of course, mom wasn't home that night type
Yeah,
stuff.
but
It's like-
they'll remember and
They'll
talk
remember
about
it, and it has made a difference for them, all of the different involvements. It really has.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Matt is now on a committee for Oakland bicycles, and he's.
So he's taking after his
taking over,
mother.
Right. Which
That's
is a good
great.
thing. It's very
That's great.
exciting. And he's all excited about the fact that what he's doing will benefit more people than just
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I just love that.
Oh, okay.
What transformation have I seen in
Yeah.
Lafayette? Well, there's no doubt that as you watch the building grow, I think I hear more and more things going on.
True.
So it tells me that things are continuing to grow and develop, and I'm hearing more about, the whole point of keeping the doors open for longer time periods, so that clearly more people, want that and the excitement. So by the time it really does open, I'm almost worried that be too crowded. It's like
I
am I
think
gonna-
I think it's gonna be, 'cause
Yeah, but
November.
I think it's very exciting that it's going to be. I mean, we all need to make sure it's on our calendar to be around,
Oh,
right?
can you imagine?
It'll be really fun.
No, but that's not very far.
It sure isn't.
November
But look
of
at that
2009. It's going up like crazy.
Yeah. And the more, and that's what you see in any kind of campaign.
And people
It's
talk
like-
about it. People
Yeah,
are-
it's a common conversation. Absolutely. It's very exciting.
It's going to be interesting to see how the traffic works there.
Yes.
I think
Well, I
they've
like
got the
having a
garage.
trail. It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I would just walk on down.
That's
you know.
right.
It'd be fun.
That would be good. I would do that.
Trying to figure out where to tie up the dog, though.
Maybe they'll have something. You can't tell. Okay. Okay. Let's see.
I'm sure I'll think of things later.
Any ideas, words, activities draw your attention? Why do you think the citizens of Lafayette have responded so enthusiastically to the new Lafayette project?
I think that
We do.
the learning center
Mhm,
concept,
mhm.
I really think, this is a very smart community.
Pretty educated,
Yeah,
yeah.
very educated group of people, and I think the idea of being able to go someplace where they're not driving into the city to go to,
Yes.
and that there will be things to do and learn, and, to me, it's about the lifelong learning piece, right? We tell that to our kids, but really, I think we believe it.
Well, and it keeps on going.
That's it.
What do you hope outcomes do you hope for most with the new library? Look forward to using, doing, enjoying the most?
I'm looking forward to having, I'm hoping anyway, some kind of area there where there would be a quiet space, so that I could just go to and sit and read. That's all.
Maybe do a little bit.
Maybe do my writing, and maybe meet some other people that want to write. And
I think there will be a lot of community involvement.
I think, yeah, and whatever else. I mean, the learning thing is key to the whole thing. I think if you were just building a building to put books in it, I don't think that's really what.
I think that's what this question, it was said the internet would kill the printed word and libraries would become obsolete.
I remember those conversations.
Yes.
Right.
And I think we were just saying.
I think the learning center piece, the lifelong learning, and I do think that's what it is in Lafayette, is that people don't just say things. I think they believe in what they say, and they're going to take action to what they say. I love that. And I think the kids get that.
Yeah.
I see it in, certainly, when being on the high school board after, it was a wonderful transformation.
The high school board.
It was like, I did that for 2 terms, and that was
my gosh.
Amazing, First of all, I got to sign all the diplomas from an entire generation, because my daughter was kindergarten when we got here, and I signed her diploma. And
did you?
It was, but all of her friends and all the other people, and then a few years after that, and it's like,
that's great.
Amazing. But you see that these kids are very enthused about learning, and they are off doing amazing things in the world.
Thank goodness.
Isn't it marvelous? And to think that there would be a place, like a central place to come home to it, because they will also somehow feel that they participate. I would hope that they would feel that they participated in something that happened. Something very big, and the community knows it's big. And I don't know. I think final thoughts would just be, first of all, think of more things later, because this stirred up my thinking on it. I know I'll go home and look at that Vision Task Force
thing. Oh, good. Okay. If there's anything you think of, call me. Okay.
But I think really it's, I really appreciate the opportunity to have participated. First of all, and this is really a lovely expression to me.
Oh,
and
good.
Made me feel very warm and good about my community. That someone's interested to hear what I have to say, maybe. But also just that I think there is a true interest, and I'm just lucky to be in a place where other people share those interests.
Good.